Seventh, someone who knows who they are. Some consequence, yet hanging in the stars, shall bitterly begin his fearful date with this night's revels, and expire the term of a despised life, closed in my breast, by some vile forfeit of untimely death. Romeo and Juliet, Act 1, Scene 4. The door opened, and then almost immediately closed again, as Jamal Jarvis dragged Lainie Martinez back out into the corridor. "Oh, come on now, Lainie," the gigantic Negro protested in alarm, seeing his convenient patsy for the Gillis murder about to slither out of his grasp. "Don't even tell me you believe .ho for one motherfucking second. You know she's just lying to save her own skank ass." "Most likely, yes," agreed Martinez. "But what if she's not lying, Jamal?" Her excitement showed in her voice, and she grabbed Jarvis' shoulders and shook him. "What if she's not? Christ, man, do you realize what an opportunity we might let slip here? For almost a year now, there has been a full-blown armed insurrection against the United States going on here in the Northwest. Never mind the fact that those morons in Washington and our own bosses are too damn stupid to see it for what it is, or too blind and stubborn to admit the fact if they do. So what the hell have we got by way of information on these people? I mean, real inside information, proper intelligence? What has the FBI got? The Batfay? What has the Department of Homeland Security got? We're supposed to be the Portland Police Hate Crime Unit, for God's sake. And what have we got by way of bona fide intel on this series of hate crimes in our own city? Fuck all. Zip. Nada. Zilch. It was a lot easier to ID these OFAs when they dressed up like Nazi stormtroopers from the 1930s and ran around in public, or had all those big meetings in public parks where we could come in and get all their information and roust them, complained Jarvis. "Yeah, I know," agreed Martinez. "Then that fat old bastard sitting all alone in some flophouse with nothing but a computer somehow was able to persuade them to start using their heads for something besides hat racks and think before they did something. God knows how he pulled that off. From what I've read in our intel reports, I don't think he ever understood how he pulled it off either," commented Jarvis. "Yeah. They call it the awakening. At some point, after almost 40 years of banging his head against a wall, all of a sudden they started listening to him." "I still don't get what the attraction was there," sighed Lainie. "But the fact is that we don't really know a damned thing about the NVA. Oh sure, we know in a general way who some of these murdering bastards are, from the Coeur d'Alene uprising and from old Pre-10, 20 seconds files, and thanks to the arrogance of some of their hitters who so kindly leave us their calling cards, literally so in the case of Lockhart. We even think we know the identities of a couple of Army Council members, like Henry Morehouse. But what do we really know about them? Not just who they are and where to find them, but how are they organized? What's their command structure? Who's who and who's where in their pecking order? How do they manage to escape surveillance and capture when we're throwing everything we've got at them? How do they select targets? How do they hunt them down? And who's next on their death list? Where are they getting weapons and supplies and money? Foreign contacts? Sympathizers here in the Northwest? Professional gun runners and criminals? How do they move people and arms and funds from place to place? Who are their bomb makers and where are their bomb factories? Where do they lay their heads at night? Where do they take their wounded for medical care? Who are their intelligence sources? Their spies and agents, some of whom we both know damned well are in this very building with us as we speak. This is the kind of thing we have to know to get a few steps ahead of them and beat them, Jamal, and why don't we know it? Because not one single law enforcement agency has ever been able to get anybody on the inside with the NVA. We've tried, the FBI has tried, military intelligence, and the CIA have tried. All we have to show for it is a few dead bodies lying in ditches with plastic bags over their heads when somebody got too close, and when we try to follow up on where those operatives were going and what they were doing when they ran into a bullet, the trail is stone cold and all the evidence and the people concerned have disappeared, like Houdini made it all vanish in a puff of smoke. Okay, I'll grant you. This McGee bitch is probably doing just what you say she is, yelling out some lie she thinks we want to hear, trying to talk her way out of her prison stretch. I understand that, and after I hear what she has to say, if I think she's full of shit, then she's yours. But we need to listen first. Don't you get it? This is pure career gold. Suppose we're the first law enforcement team to get somebody inside the NVA. Suppose we can get into the human intel driver's seat on this and we can manage to stay there. The sky is the limit, man. Lainie's eyes were shining brightly and her voice animated as visions of cabinet posts danced in her head. The visions dancing in Jamal's head were more of the folding green variety, but he got it. Yeah, I see what you're talking about, he admitted reluctantly. But what about the Gillis homicide? Me and Roscoe gots to be clear on dat. Don't worry, even if she pans out as a CI, you and Roscoe are clear for sure, Lainie assured him. You've got to be, because Lenny Gillis's corpse is our leverage on the bitch, that and her kid. Hey, if it turns out she's yanking our chain, we can go back to the original plan. She goes inside for a nice long vacation, and her kid goes to It Takes a Village for $500,000, and we get our finder's fee. But first, let's hear what she has to say. All right, let's do this thing, agreed Jarvis, the prospects unfolding before him very pleasing indeed. Lainie pushed the door back open, literally ran inside the interrogation room, ran around the table, grabbed Kicky by the hair with her left hand and took her by the throat with her right, and slammed Kicky's head back into the wall, making her scream from the pain in her scalp wound. Listen now and listen good, you slut, she hissed viciously into Kicky's ear. Don't you dare make statements like that to me and Sergeant Jarvis unless you can back up every fucking syllable. Don't you so much as dare to think that you are going to bullshit your way out of your just punishment on a murder charge and string us along with some cock and bull story about the NVA. Don't you dare start talking about some deal and trying to take control of this situation. You are not in control of anything, Kicky. You are a turd, and you are floating in our toilet. You will tell me everything, right now. No holding back and no bullshit. And afterwards, Sergeant Jarvis and I will make the decision as to whether or not to flush you. You try to spin us a fairy tale or string us along, and I'll make sure you do your time in the worst hole I can find, with Bull Dykes who will make sure you spend a lot of your long sentence with a broom handle up your twat. Do you get this picture, girl? Do you really get it? Yeah, I get it, sniffled Kicky, for the time being totally overwhelmed and crushed. Let me give you some advice, ho, said Jarvis, leaning over her menacingly. You think I'm a bad motherfucker? Let me tell you, you don't even want to get Sergeant Martinez pissed off at you. Compared to her, I am Rebecca of Sunnybrook fucking Farm. Now you start talking, and you don't stop until you have told it all, commanded Lainie. Kicky told them what she knew. It wasn't much, and it didn't take long. They left the room with one final warning from Lainie. If a large lady in orange comes in here carrying a mop and a smile of anticipation on her face, you'll know we didn't buy it, and I suggest you do what she tells you to do and save yourself a beatdown. Outside in the hall they halted, making sure the door was closed. I think she's telling the truth, said Martinez excitedly. Yeah, said Jarvis, nodding slowly in agreement. Yeah, so do I. She too scared to lie. Okay, so we stake out that crib of Lenny's and wait for Dagoots to show, hopefully Lockhart with him as well. You still don't get it, Jamal, said Martinez, shaking her head. I'm not talking about just one good bust. I'm thinking long-term project here. We've got this bitch by the tits with the murder rap and the little girl. We need to squeeze her. We send her in deep undercover, as far in as we can get her, and we make sure she's wired every step of the way. We know they have women members. Okay, we see if we can actually get Kicky enlisted in this terrorist army of theirs. We get as much information as we can on the whole NVA structure in this city and anywhere else, ID as many of the sons of bitches as we can, find out everything we can, every safe house, every car they use, every arms dump, build up a whole picture. Then we take down the whole enchilada at once and make Portland the only city in the Northwest that's 100% racist-free. Once we do that, we can write our own tickets. We can go federal. The Bureau will be on their knees begging for our expertise. Once we've beaten this scum here in the Northwest, we're on our way. Ever want to live in Washington, D.C., Jamal? I got's family in the district, chuckled Jarvis. But how do we work this meet tonight? We don't do anything tonight. Tonight we just send in our girl and let her make some new friends, said Martinez. We're gonna need backup bodies and techs to handle the wire. And Captain Rawlinson's gonna want to know what the fuck we doing. Screw Rawlinson, said Martinez. The first rule of Project Kicky has to be absolute secrecy. I know a techno nerd in the electronic surveillance division who's a whiz at everything we'll need, both location and personal wiring, Andy McCafferty. He will need to be brought on board for all the technical stuff now and in the future, and he'll have to keep quiet about it all. If it comes to that, I can get him to keep his mouth shut by throwing him an occasional fuck. For tonight, it will be just him and us two. And Kicky, of course. No other backup? That don't sound too smart? Asked Jamal nervously. No offense, Lainie, I mean you one badass tamale and all, but I don't dig the idea of going up against dat cat-eyed Mutafuka, and maybe some more of his crew with just you and some geek from ESD. Dis nigger ain't getting shot in de ass for nobody's career, mine included. Besides, okay, I get the part about not taking him down tonight, giving him some rope, but with no backup, how we gonna tail him after the meet? We don't, said Martinez again. We let them go. I say again, the purpose of tonight is to get our girl known to them and make them want to recruit her. For that, they need to like what they see to start trusting her. If they're followed from the scene and they make the tail, that will blow the whole game. They'll never trust her and probably try to play her back on us if they don't simply whack her. And what's to keep her from ratting us out to them? Asked Jarvis. Or just plain rabbiting on us when we let her out the door. Lainie smiled wickedly. We'll have her daughter, right here in the Justice Center, and after today we hang on to her. Kicky plays her part tonight, and from now on, or else the kid goes straight to it takes a village. Okay, and after tonight? Asked Jarvis. We gonna be running a long-term undercover like this? Rawlinson will have to be brought in on it, and a lot of other people as well. I know there will have to be others, said Martinez. We'll need a whole task force. But we need to keep them to a minimum and compartmentalize everything, especially her identity. I don't trust Rawlinson. He's white and male and heterosexual, and by definition that means he's politically unreliable. His definition of hate crime has always been a little too lenient for my taste, especially when it comes to hate speech. He doesn't seem to understand that hate speech is a dead giveaway for thoughts and attitudes that lead to hate crime, and that once we know that hate is in a white male's mind, we need to nip him in the bud before he can act on those thoughts. It's the only way to protect women and minorities. I don't want him in on this, and I don't want him knowing who Kicky is, and I don't want Roscoe or any of your compadres in corruption knowing what's going on either. You just tell Roscoe it's all taken care of and you leave it at that, got it? I'm going to move Miss McGee into a conference room upstairs now, and get her paperwork on this murder charge off the computers and out of the system now, before it gets too complicated. How we gonna run a major gig like this without the head of the unit knowing anything about it? Inquired Jamal. If this meet tonight goes smooth, then I'm taking it right to the chief, said Lainie. She'll want in on this in the worst way, and she'll pull us right out from under Rawlinson and give us everything we need. As incompetent overall as the United States and its enforcement arms were, there were still elements and individuals within the system who were capable of acting with speed and ruthless efficiency when the occasion demanded. Kicky McGee got a living demonstration of this now. Within an hour she had been taken to a police doctor. Her head wound was sterilized and stitched and bandaged, although at Lainie's direction none of her hair was shaved. She was given a series of injections, including antibiotics and a mild painkiller, and she was then locked in a plush upstairs. Conference room with the shackles and cuffs removed, along with a stern warning that any attempt at escape would be dealt with mercilessly. While all this was going on, a team of undercover Portland detectives moved in swiftly on her trailer. They dragged a still drunken and comatose May McGee into a wagon, removed baby Mary Ellen from her crib, and took a list of items from the trailer, after which they departed silently, unnoticed. There was in fact a man living in the trailer park, not an actual volunteer yet, but a candidate member, who acted as a spotter for the NVA, but since he had to leave for work at 6 in the morning, he missed the brief flurry of activity around Kicky's trailer. 2 hours after Detective Sergeant Martinez had slammed Kicky's head into the wall, her daughter was brought to her in the conference room. Someone had changed Ellie's pamper and dressed her in one of her own cheap cotton pajama suits. Kicky was provided with a styrofoam plate of fruit salad from the cafeteria, a small box of cereal in a plastic bowl, a carton of milk, and a plastic spoon, and permitted to feed her child. After her breakfast, Ellie wanted to play, and she ran around the conference room chattering and yelling, jumping up and down on the chairs, and throwing pencils and papers around in perfect glee, her mother drinking in every sound and gesture in an agony of love and fear. About 10 o'clock, Lainie Martinez came into the room, accompanied by a woman in civilian clothes whom Kicky assumed was from Child Protective Services or some other state bureaucracy. This woman picked up Ellie and said, "Come on, honey, let's go watch some cartoons, okay? This lady wants to talk to your mommy." Kicky did not try to resist or make a scene for fear of traumatizing the little girl. "Go on, honey," she said gently to her daughter. "Go watch cartoons." "You come too," demanded the little girl. "Cartoon with me." "I can't, honey. Go on, I'll see you later," said Kicky. Tears were in her eyes as the woman carried the child out of the room. "You really can see her later, you know," said Lainie conversationally. "It's all up to you from now on, Kristen." "No, I won't," said Kicky in total resignation. "Not after tonight. I'm not an idiot. I know what you want me to do. I also know what the NVA does to snitches. I see it on TV. They tie you up and put a plastic garbage bag over your head, and then they put a bullet in your brain. The bag is so the brains and the blood don't splatter and make more evidence for the crime scene investigators. They never bury the bodies. They want them to be found so everyone will know what happens to informers. What's going to happen to my daughter after I'm dead?" "You know what will happen," Lainie told her bluntly. "She'll go to It Takes a Village, and she will be adopted by a family of proven wealth and substance and loyalty to the United States probably. On the East Coast somewhere, but certainly outside the Northwest just to make sure she doesn't grow up with any bad influences in her life like you." "Drunks?" asked Kicky bitterly. "I mean violent bad drunks, not like my mom? Nut jobs the courts have declared unsuitable for normal adoption? Dysfunctional yuppies or glitterati who want her as a toy and who will get tired of her and slough her off onto some Guatemalan maid or nanny all day, so she'll be raised by the TV if she's lucky, or maybe infected with some third world disease, or maybe a couple of dykes or faggots. Just anybody with enough money will do, I guess," said Kicky bitterly. "Look, I'm telling you for the last time, I don't want to hear any more of that hate speech," snapped Lainie. "No more ethnic slurs or derogatory remarks about people's sexual preferences. You're in trouble enough already." "Yeah, I'm in trouble," yelled Kicky. "I've got a couple of bastard cops who are sending me to my death and planning to sell my daughter after the Spuckies kill me. I'd call that trouble. And as for hate speech, you'd better get used to it, because if I'm going to be hanging with Jerry Reb, you're going to be hearing a lot of it on your wire or whatever you're planning. Let's just say I'm getting into character." "Gee, it sure sucks to be you," agreed Lainie equably. She had sense enough to realize that now was the time to ease up a bit on the terrified young woman in front of her. "Look, you've caught a couple of bad breaks in the past 24 hours, Kristen. That I'll grant you. But you know, there's an old saying, if you can't get out of it, get into it. When life hands you lemons, make lemonade. If you play your cards right and keep your cool, and give this thing of ours 110%, then this big cloud could turn out to have a hell of a silver lining. You don't think we'd ask you to undertake a dangerous assignment like this without compensating you, do you? And your compensation will be commensurate with the risk. I can promise you $500 a week from the discretionary fund. That's $2,000 per month tax-free. Plus we can arrange things for you like clothes and cars and anything you need. If you prove as valuable to us as I think you may, then it will be more per month. Just how long do you plan on this snitch gig of mine going on?" asked Kicky, appalled. "How long is a piece of string?" replied Lainie rhetorically. "From one end to the other. It goes on as long as it goes on. It will go on until they pick up on the fact that I'm a rat. And then one night I get into a car with them, and I end up lying in the woods with the bag over my head," said Kicky with finality. "I can't do it, damn you. I'm not a stool pigeon and I can't act like one. They'll be able to read me in their sleep. I probably won't even make it past tonight." "Kicky, look, you know as well as I do where you've been and what you've done," said Lainie. "You know how to handle yourself on the streets and in prison. If you didn't have some moves you wouldn't have survived, you wouldn't be here. And you won't have to do anything proactive. No fishing for specific people or things. Although needless to say, we're very interested in Mr. Lockhart. You don't have to ask leading questions or act overly curious. Just go with the flow and sound enthusiastic about their great racist revolution. We will be recording you every step of the way, and our intelligence people will be doing all the analysis and figuring out what the hell their scene is from the raw data you bring in. You'll just be a fly on the wall, so to speak, a listening post. Do whatever they tell you to. Convince them you're just a bimbo. And of course use your sexual skills, which I'm sure you've picked up in your professional life. These men are brutes, granted. But like all men, they're nothing but dumb thugs who think with their cocks. And they're not going to suspect a foxy bitch with neat tats who gives them good head. And you'll be recording that too, I suppose? Asked Kicky, burying her face in her hands. What are you going to do after I'm dead? Sell it on the internet? Oh, come on, don't tell me you're shy, snapped Lainie in exasperation. You're a sex trade worker, for God's sake. Surely you've done group bangs and porno and let some of your Johns watch, that kind of thing? As a matter of fact, no, I haven't, said Kicky dully. It's something I do sometimes when I have to, because it's the only way I can get money to pay the rent and buy baby stuff, and because it's the only thing America thinks I'm good for. But I don't enjoy it. As if you give a damn about what I feel. Actually, I don't, said Lainie. Look, are you down with this or not, Kicky? I need to know now. It's not rocket science. You play ball or America throws you away, all of you. We can still take you back downstairs, and we can send that little girl right on over to It Takes a Village. And for good measure, we can seize that trailer and your drunk-ass mother's trailer as well under the asset forfeiture laws. Did I mention your mother is down in the drunk tank right now? Probably hollering for her first brewski of the day. If you balk on me or if you screw this up tonight, by this time tomorrow you'll be so far into the system no one can pull you out. Your daughter will be. On her way to her new mommy and daddy, or her new mommies or new daddies as the case may be, and will drop your mother off at the Salvation Army homeless shelter. Okay, I get it, shouted Kicky. Just tell me what you want me to do. Lainie Martinez pointed to a large and comfortable-looking sofa along one wall of the conference room. Right now I want you to lie down and take a good long sleep, she said. You've got a heavy date at 9 o'clock tonight, and I want you alert and rested and on your toes. You do not want to fuck this up because you're exhausted. She got up and went to the door. This door stays locked, and remember, even if you can get out of this room, we've got your little girl, and you don't know where in this building she is. Wise up, Kristen. You're our bitch now, and when we tell you to sit, you sit. We tell you to fetch, you fetch. When one of those racist murderers tells you to roll over, you roll over. Deal with it. In fact, Kicky was indeed exhausted. And even as stressed as she was, she fell asleep almost immediately when she lay down on the soft sofa. A woman police officer woke her up at 4 o'clock, gave her another painkiller, and let her go to the bathroom and take a shower in the staff locker room, keeping her under close watch the whole time. Then Kicky was taken back to the conference room where she was served a cafeteria lunch which she devoured whole. She hadn't eaten for 24 hours, and she was hungry. After she was through, Lainie Martinez brought in a large cardboard box of stuff from Kicky's trailer. A selection of her clothes was inside. Pick out something to wear tonight, she ordered Kicky. Casual wear, not that street-walking outfit you were arrested in. Kicky chose jeans, a pair of old running shoes, a bra, and a short-sleeved maroon knit pullover blouse. You gonna tape a box or something to my navel? She asked. Oh, it's a lot more sophisticated than that now, said Lainie with a laugh. She went to the door of the conference room and beckoned. A tall, thin white man in civilian clothes with a receding hairline and a badge and gun on his belt entered, carrying a metal briefcase, which he set down on the conference room table and opened up. This is Detective McCafferty from our Electronic Surveillance Division, said Martinez. You'll be seeing a lot of him. McCafferty stepped up to Kicky and looked her over. Pierced ears? Good, he said. I've got the very thing. He went to the case and picked out a couple of small earrings, pearls set into a green leafy blossom design. He put them on Kicky's ears. Then he went to the case and pulled out a set of headphones, which he put on his ears. Say something so I can check the levels, he ordered. Itsy bitsy spider crawled up the fucking spout, said Kicky. McCafferty diddled with some dials in the small console in the case. Again, please, he said. What if they run a metal detector over me? Demanded Kicky. No metal in those, all plastic fiber circuitry, said McCafferty. Fiber optic? Are there tiny cameras in there so you can see as well as hear? Asked Kicky curiously. No, just audio, although we do have some video-capable pieces like that, replied the bugman. Now you, Sergeant, step away from her a bit, say 6 feet, and say something. Lainie did so and said, Fiber optics will come later. We want to get these SOBs on video as well as on digital sound. How's that, Andy? Good. Now me. I'm what, maybe 12 feet away? Testing. 1, 2, yeah, I'm fine. Turn on the TV, please, for background noise filter. Lainie turned on the television, which was sitting in one corner of the room. CNN was on. The woman newscaster was reading off her teleprompter. Rush hour traffic in Seattle is being disrupted and backed up for several miles from the Governor Rossellini Bridge due to a burning police vehicle at the 23rd Avenue on-ramp to Highway 520. The police command car, believed to be carrying a senior field supervisor, was destroyed by an improvised explosive device concealed on the side of the entrance ramp. The supervisor and his driver were killed. Their names are being withheld, pending notification of their families. A telephone call to CNN Seattle Bureau using a confirmed code word claimed credit for the attack in the name of the outlawed white supremacist Northwest Volunteer Army. There were more terrorist attacks throughout the Pacific Northwest today, as 2 Hispanic men were shot and killed in Yakima, Washington. Bombs exploded in a Hispanic bar in Boise, Idaho, and a Jewish community center in Eugene, Oregon, and the Korean owner of a convenience store in Chehalis, Washington, was shot dead. Also, in Portland, Oregon, a well-known gay and anti-fascist community activist, Jeffrey Weller, age 32, was shot and killed in a deadly daylight sniper attack in the city's fashionable Pearl District. Portland police have confirmed that a Jack of Diamonds playing card was found near the sniper's presumed hiding place, indicating that the shooting was carried out by the notorious Jesse Cat Eyes Lockhart of the NVA. A $1 million reward has been offered for Lockhart's capture, but with no results so far. Background filters fine, said McCafferty with a nod. We'll have our ears on. Lainie snapped off the television. $1 million reward, Kicky, she simpered suggestively. I'm sure you could use some of that, couldn't you? Don't worry. You come through for us and Jamal and me will give you an even split. You've got my word. And do I have your word I'll be alive to spend it? Asked Kicky. You want a GPI on her? McCafferty asked Lainie. Oh yes, always, said Lainie. A what? Asked Kicky. Global positioning indicator, said McCafferty, rummaging around in his case. That way we know exactly where you are, at all times. Just what I always wanted, said Kicky dryly. This is for your protection as well as ours, you know, said Lainie. If these guys tonight want you to go somewhere with them, you go with them. This way we can track you. And are these earrings sensitive enough to understand me when I'm talking with a plastic bag over my head? Demanded Kicky. Look, I'm doing this because I haven't got any choice. Don't worry, I'll come through for you or literally die trying. Most likely die trying. But don't insult my intelligence by pretending you give a damn about me or my safety, okay? You don't care if they kill me. All you care about is getting the credit and the little gold star on your forehead for whatever information about the NVA I get for you and the monkey. Don't tell me you want to put a tracking device on me for my own protection. You just want to tag me like a fish or an animal, turn me loose in the wild, and see how long I survive before the bears and the wolves eat me. Like this was some kind of sick reality nature show. Close, but not quite, said Lainie calmly. What you have to understand, Kristen, is that you henceforth will represent a growing investment of time, effort, and money on behalf of the Portland Police Bureau. When we start laying out the shekels for an operation like this, our bosses expect to see results. And one cracker whore lying dead on a logging trail with that plastic bag you mentioned over her head doesn't count as a result. Okay, so the milk of human kindness doesn't come into play much in all of this. But we do want to protect you as an investment. The more valuable an investment you make yourself, the more motivation we will have to exert ourselves to protect you, got it? Full cooperation and participation on your part is advisable. Call it enlightened self-interest. Try this, said McCafferty, slipping a sapphire ring onto her right hand. You start building our mutual investment portfolio tonight, Kristen, said Martinez. You make all the right moves, you don't fuck it up, and from now on that ring stays on your finger at all times. Sure, once you're back on the street you can take off the ring and ditch us. But be very sure about things before you do that, girl, because once you take off that ring our divorce is final. And we not only get custody of Mary Ellen, but Jamal and I will hunt you down, and, after Jamal takes a recreational break with you, I will personally put a bullet in your empty blonde head that will kill you just as dead as any NVA slug would. Once we start this, Kicky, you do not ever forget whose side you're on and who you're working for. One day it will all be over, but we will decide when that day comes, not you. Now I know why I fell in love with you, sighed McCafferty, looking at Lainie with soulful eyes. Kicky had a horrible suspicion that he meant it. They dropped Kicky off a block from Lenny's pad at exactly 9 that night, on a corner they knew could not be seen from the apartment windows. There had been some discussion between Lainie and Jamal as to whether or not they should insert her into the apartment earlier and have her waiting for whomever showed from the NVA, but Lainie vetoed it. They show up and find someone they're not expecting already there. That will sound a warning bell in their minds right away, she explained. They'll wonder who else has been there before them and what they've been doing in there. As Kicky got out of the nondescript Pacific Power van, Lainie said, "You have your bus pass? Remember, if they ask you how you got here, you took the 42. "I've got it," said Kicky, fighting not to tremble in terror. "Go now." "Don't fuck this up," said Lainie, closing the door to the van. "A good luck might have been nice, bitch," muttered Kicky as she hoisted her handbag to her shoulder. At her insistence, she had been at least able to get them to give her another padlock, and she had made another slungshot from one of her socks. "Look, they'll think it's out of character if I'm not packing something," she had argued. Now she entered the building and mounted the creaking stairs to the second floor. She knew from past experience here that the elevator in this tenement wasn't reliable. She stopped and checked under the mat at the top of the stairs. The key Lenny kept there for his girls, when he used the place as a drop, was gone. They were probably in there. She stood before apartment 24 and took a deep breath. Then she knocked on the door. After a moment, the door was opened by the man she had seen the day before in Jupiter's den, the one with the shaved head and beard who looked like a wrestler. Kicky saw he kept his right hand behind the door, and she was sure there was a gun in it. She didn't give him a chance to say anything. "Lenny Gillis ain't comin'," she said to him. "Yeah?" said the man, looking her over from head to toe. "Why not?" "He's dead," she told him. "A couple of nigger cops beat him to death last night. The cops are probably looking for you now." "They always are." Big Jim McCann stepped aside and jerked his head for Kicky to enter, and then he closed the door. There was indeed a black plastic-looking automatic in his right hand, probably a 9mm of some kind, she thought. "Who are you?" he demanded, his voice deep, not rough. Kicky sensed that the next 60 seconds would probably determine her immediate survival or otherwise. "I'm Kicky McGee," she said. "I worked for Lenny." She awaited the inevitable next question as to the nature of employment with resignation, but it didn't come. Instead, a second man spoke from behind her. "Nice tats," he said. She turned around, expecting to see Cat Eyes Lockhart, but instead she saw a man with a dark red full beard and blue bandana on his head. The second volunteer was just as tall as McCann, but not quite so massive, well-muscled, wearing a sleeveless denim jacket that might once have been biker colors over a tank-top t-shirt. His arms and shoulders were covered with a variety of Confederate flags, Klansmen on rearing horses holding fiery crosses, swastika motifs, and Viking warrior maidens in armored bikinis. His arms were crossed and he was holding a stainless steel magnum in one hairy hand. "Yours are pretty gnarly too," she conceded. "You know who we are?" asked McCann in his deceptively low and gentle voice. "Lenny told you?" Lainie had instructed her to keep to the truth as much as possible and try to avoid any lies that might trip her up later. "Yeah, I know who you are, and no, Lenny didn't tell me," said Kicky. "Lenny never tells me shit. Never told me shit, I should say. I saw you when you came in the den yesterday, and I recognized that guy who was with you, the cat. Jesus, man, everybody in Portland must know his face by now. That guy's hot as bubbling cheese. I don't know who's got more balls, him or you, for being seen with him in public." "We tried putting a bag over his head, but that attracted even more attention," said the man behind her. His accent was noticeably Southern or possibly cowboy. McCann had a disconcerting habit of concentrating on the most essential points first. "So if Lenny didn't tell you anything about us, how comes it that we see you here at the very time and place we should be seeing Mr. G?" "I was in the can, and when I came out I heard him set up the meet with you here," she said. "I figured you'd want to know he was dead." "You figured right," agreed McCann. And how did that come about? Last night he got a visit from those two nigger cops I mentioned, said Kicky. I was there when they came in. One was a uniformed sergeant, Roscoe something. The other was Jarvis from the hate crime and civil disobedience squad. They call him the Monkey. We're familiar with the Monkey, yes, said McCann. Go on. 2 blocks away, the Pacific Power van was discreetly parked in an alleyway, and the 3 detectives were hunched over McCafferty's metal case getting an earful, clear as a bell. Yeah, you bet yo ass you familiar wid me, crack-a-motherfucker, growled Jarvis. I can't believe it. We're finally getting these guys on digital. Crowed Detective McCafferty in elation. Quiet, snapped Lainie, straining to hear. In the apartment, Kicky launched into the crucial part of her cover story. They came in and they talked with Lenny for a while in one of the booths, she said. Then all of a sudden they took him back in the back. Didn't look like he was too happy about going with them. I took care of some business about that time, and when I got back the den had hit the bubblegum machine, flashing blue lights everywhere. There was an electronic beep. What the fuck? She turned and saw the second volunteer right behind her with a handheld metal detector in his hand. He had been quietly running it over her while she spoke. What's in the handbag, Kicky? Asked McCann. Kicky scowled and handed it to him. McCann holstered his pistol and dug around in the bag, then pulled out the sock with the padlock inside it. You must get some rough customers, he remarked, hefting it and returning it to the handbag, which he handed back to her. Yeah, where the hell you think I got this? She said, pointing to the still visible bruise on her face where Jarvis had hit her the night before, heading off one obvious coming question. Anyway, I heard later that Lenny was found dead in the alley with his head beaten in. It must have been those cops. I remembered seeing you guys earlier that day. Jarvis is with hate crimes, and so I put 2 and 2 together. I figure they were trying to squeeze him for information on you guys. And so I came here instead to give you the 411. Why? Demanded McCann. Because I want to help you out, she said. And why is that? He asked. Kicky gestured toward herself. You know what I am, she said. Any fool with 2 eyes can see. America's fucked me over, and I figure it's time I returned the favor. What, no big long speech about how the world Jewish conspiracy done turned her into a hoe? Chortled Jarvis 2 blocks away in the van. No, she's playing it just right, insisted Lainie. Quiet. You a junkie? Asked McCann. Not anymore. I've been clean 6 months and I'm staying clean, said Kicky. You think Lenny gave us up? Asked the second man. Kicky gestured around her. You hear any sirens? She asked. Guess not. And we should believe this story of yours and trust you exactly why now? Asked McCann politely. She repeated the gesture. I say again, you hear any sirens? Look, I don't expect you to let me in on all your deep dark secrets or nothing like that. I wouldn't want to know those anyway. But I'm willing to help you any way I can. She took a Jupiter's Den card out of her back pocket, one of a number she carried for customers. My cell's on the back. I've done what I came here to do. Now I'm going to leave, and you can call me any time and I'll go anywhere you tell me and do whatever you tell me. Or if you don't trust me, then go ahead and shoot me. How do you know we won't just shoot you? Asked McCann. I don't, she said. Sure, I thought about it, and I just don't care anymore. If all I have to look forward to in America is 50 more years of this shit, I'd rather die now and get it over with before I end up a washed-up, sick old drunk like my mom, 55 going on 75. I figured it was worth the risk. McCann looked at the second man. She's right, the second man said. We ain't hearing no sirens and there's no RRT kicking in the door, and she's not wired so far as that one handset tells us. McCann smiled coldly. Well, regardless of what you've heard, miss, we don't just kill people without a reason, so I guess we'll give you the benefit of the doubt. I'm Comrade Smith. Winston Smith? I don't remember no Smith in our NVA files, said Jarvis 2 blocks away in the surveillance van, furrowing his brow. I'll explain it to you later, said Lainie, rolling her eyes. But this smartass should remember that in 1984, Big Brother got Winston Smith in the end. 1984? Nah, he don't sound old enough to have a record that far back, said Jarvis decisively. Quiet, snapped Lainie again. Back in the apartment, Jim McCann continued his introductions. This is Thumper, he said, indicating the red-bearded man. Obviously your street name, said Kicky. Actually, it's my job description, said Thumper with a boyish and only slightly maniacal grin. McCann went on. Now, since you want to do your patriotic duty to the Northwest Republic by helping us out, I don't suppose the late Mr. Gillis told you anything about a consignment of goods he had for us? Like what, guns or explosives? She asked. I guess that's what you guys would be interested in, but I always figured Lennie was too lame to deal in heavy shit like that. But then I never would have figured him for one of you guys anyway, she concluded. He wasn't one of us guys, said McCann. Lennie Gillis was just what he seemed to be, a petty criminal and not too good at it. But unfortunately, revolutionaries can't be too picky about who we deal with sometimes. And no, it wasn't weapons or ordnance. I'm sure it won't come as a surprise to you to learn that Gillis also did a heavy trade in stolen goods. I did 14 months in Coffee Creek off one of his little fencing deals gone bad, so no, it wouldn't surprise me at all, replied Kicky in a dry tone. We learned through various channels that Lennie ended up with some of the loot from a high-end ripoff at a defense plant in Seattle, said McCann. We came here tonight to buy some stuff from him, but now we've got no Lennie and no merchandise, and an envelope full of cash burning a hole in our pockets. When you were around that strip joint of his, did you see anything like a package, or maybe a box, a manila envelope, anything like that? Smaller than a bread box, able to fit into a briefcase? Kicky noticed there was a briefcase on the back of one of the musty and decayed armchairs in the apartment. No, she said, shaking her head. But I know sometimes he used to stash his hot stuff in here. This thing you're looking for, you say it's something small, like drugs? That size? Try under the TV. She pointed to the home entertainment center. Under the set was a drawer with slots for DVDs. The second man pulled it out. Nothing but porno, he said in disgust. No, it goes further back, she said. Pull the drawer all the way out. Thumper did so. Now reach way back inside and see if anything's there. Thumper made a long arm inside the cabinet and pulled out a large, heavy, padded mailing envelope. He tore it open and spilled the contents out onto the coffee table. Kicky saw a number of small, square, and rectangular black objects. That what you're looking for? She asked. That's it, said McCann, holding up one of the Lego-like components. You gonna shoot me if I ask what those are? Kicky couldn't resist asking, even as her heart quailed at the risk she was running. Computer chips and micro-circuit boards, said McCann, admiring them. Very special ones. All plastic. No metal filaments, no metal in their composition at all. I won't tell you what we want them for, but suffice it to say that these babies can pass through a metal detector without tripping it. Wow, I didn't know they could make things like that, said Kicky with a wide-eyed and impressed expression on her face. Shit, said McCafferty in the surveillance van. Dollars to donuts, it's those SMC 5s and 16s from the Boeing heist up in Seattle last month. Silicon microconductors, chips and boards, the matched set, state-of-the-art. And you're going to let these fascist sociopaths walk with them, Lainie? If the chief doesn't crucify you, the FBI will. It's a risk we have to take, Andy, said Martinez in a level tone, knowing he was right, and if she couldn't make her case to higher-ups on the point, she'd be walking a beat as a meter maid. Don't you see? Already this little tattooed twist has told us something we didn't know. She's a gold mine, and we have to keep drilling her in deeper and deeper. In the apartment, McCann opened his briefcase, put the envelope inside, and took out another, smaller envelope. From it, he pulled several packets of $100 bills and handed them to her. I'll just assume you're Lennie's heir apparent, he said to Kicky. The deal was 20 grand. Make sure it's all there. Kicky gave a wry smile and gently shoved the money back at him. I suppose that was a test, she said. Keep it. I mean it, Comrade Smith. I really do want to help you and maybe someday have a country of my own where I can be something besides white trash. Perfect, breathed Lainie in the van, headphone to her ear. Look, I'll go now, said Kicky. I got a bus to catch. If I make it out of the building without a bullet in my back, I'll assume I'm good with you guys. Call me, and have whoever calls me use the name Mr. Smith so I'll know he's from you. I can't guarantee that, said McCann. It's not up to me. You know we're going to have to check you out. Yeah, well, when you do, you'll see I'm no prize, she said seriously. I'm not going to try to hide or conceal anything. My past is pretty shitty. You check out. Maybe your future will be better, sister, said Thumper. Kicky slipped up then. She forgot herself and snapped at him. I'm not your sister. Yes, ma'am, actually you are, said Thumper seriously. You just don't know it yet. Well, I guess I'm a racist, admitted Kicky. My God, how could anyone grow up where I did and not be? And what do you think a racist is, ma'am? Asked McCann. A white person who hates niggers? Guessed Kicky. No, that's a common misconception. Hate has got nothing to do with it, McCann said seriously. One of our old leaders, Pastor Bob Miles, put it best many years ago. A racist is someone who knows who they are. I can't honestly say that I know who I am, admitted Kicky. Then we'll show you, said Thumper. Now split. Out the front. We'll go out the back way. Wait for a call. It may be a while, but wait for it. Kicky turned and left the apartment. She left the building and walked to the bus stop under a streetlight so the two men would be sure to see her there. A minute or so later, a dark Ford sedan slid by the stop. She did not see if the two men were in it or not. But they were. She continued standing there for almost 5 minutes, letting one bus pass, before the Pacific Power van pulled up beside her and the side door slid open. Then she got in and collapsed into a fit of hysterics, vomiting in sheer terror at her close encounter with death. Lainie Martinez actually tried to comfort Kicky and wiped her mouth with a paper towel. She was now a valued asset. In the dark Ford, volunteer Jimmy Wingo, alias Thumper, was driving, and McCann was dialing his wireless phone. A voice answered. Max Auto and Body Shop, said the man, who was one of the volunteers several blocks back in the two men's escort car. Hey Joey, those Toyota brake pads came in, finally, said McCann. Volunteer Van Gelder, whose first name was not Joey, understood that they had the microchips in their possession. Finally, he said. Can you get them over here first thing in the morning? Not sure. Slight problem in the schedule tomorrow, said McCann. I'll do what I can. You keep a sharp eye out tomorrow morning and they'll be there when they get there is all I can tell you. Okay, said Van Gelder. Have a good evening. You too. McCann had just told Van Gelder that something wasn't quite right, and he needed to keep an extra sharp eye out, while the two NVA teams met at an alternate safe house to the one originally planned. It took them 2 hours of circuitous driving to reach the place, another apartment complex on a semi-rural road in Clackamas County. Awaiting them was Lieutenant Wayne Hill of the 3rd Section, the NVA's intelligence arm. He had chosen the codename Oscar in a sardonic reference to the Zionist book and movie Schindler's List. Hill, too, had a list. He was a slender and handsome man of about 30, with ash-blonde hair, blue eyes, and a classic aquiline Nordic countenance. He was the scion of one of the wealthiest old-money families in Virginia, the possessor of a Phi Beta Kappa key from Georgetown University, an absolutely dedicated and ascetic National Socialist, and already enjoying a budding reputation as one of the Army's most skilled assassins. He floated between brigades, training brigade intelligence officers and troubleshooting difficult cases, or sometimes trouble stabbing and trouble strangling them. Anything to do with the super microchips came within his high-priority purview. McCann walked into the living room of the apartment and held the envelope. I checked them out on a laptop with a special USB adapter while we were on our way here, he told Hill. They're the real McCoy, all right. No defectives. We got what we paid for, and we didn't even have to pay for them. He threw the envelope of cash down on the table. But there was something of a problem at the delivery point. Jimmy Wingo walked into the room with 2 mugs of coffee and handed one to McCann. One problem I can see right off the bat is the fact that Lenny Gillis has been dead for the past 24 hours, said Hill. I got the word tonight. The case has been sealed already, and somebody did a full cleanup in the PB's computers. None of our people can get near the files. They're behind too many cyber walls. So how did you get the goods? One of Lenny's proxies, white girl named Kicky McGee, with a lot of tattoos and a lot of miles on her, shows up and gives us a line about how she wants to join the Army. Then she leads us right to the merchandise. We could have found it ourselves, but it would have taken us a while. McCann then went through a detailed account of the entire meeting with Kicky. It sounds pat, but sometimes real life works out pat, said Hill. Does she read right? It could have happened exactly as she said, yes, said McCann. I didn't detect a single thing about her, anything she said or did that indicated she was lying. She sounded like a pissed-off white girl who is tired of being fucked by America, in every sense of the word. The metal detector said she was clean, although as we know from these chips we just got, that doesn't mean much anymore. I'll say this much. I know Zog does not want us to have these chips. They know that with these we can get anything electronic we make past 90% of all the security scanning devices in the country. I can't see them letting us walk out the door with these if they had any way of knowing we had them in our hands. Did you see any sign at all that you were tailed here from the meeting site tonight? Anything even remotely suspicious? Zip, said McCann. We kept an eye out for copters, and we stopped in Gresham and I ran the detector over both vehicles looking for any bugs or GPIs they might have slipped on us somehow. Nothing. Jimmy, asked Hill. Hey, don't ask me for an opinion on a woman, snorted Wingo. Last time I trusted a woman I ended up in Angola Farm. But I'm like Jim, I didn't pick up on anything that sounded like she was lying. And if it was 2 cops that killed Gillis, that could explain the PB burying it so deep. Lenny did tell me at our last meeting that he was expecting a visit from the Heat last night, said McCann. Jarvis used to be vice, and my guess would be it wasn't about us. It was over some shakedown he was running on his old turf. That would play. If I had to decide, I'd say the girl is straight up and she needs to be contacted by a recruiter. We need every volunteer we can get, decided Hill. As Freud said, sometimes a cigar really is just a cigar. I'll run this chick's history through the ringer and see if I can get anything that feels wrong. If not, we'll give her a buzz, but with a little more than the usual caution. You know the rule, no one joins the NVA joins you. This serendipitous introduction sounds just a little off-key to me, but you're right. Weird shit happens in the fog of war. I don't want her to meet or be able to ID any more volunteers than she needs to at first. You're too high up, Jim. She doesn't see you again. As far as she is concerned, Comrade Smith no longer exists. You know we always try to preserve first contacts, so we'll start her out as an A Company wannabe. Jimmy, I'll let you handle her. Your misogyny may come in handy. You first, and if she still rings true, then we'll get Ma Wingfield down from Dundee to have a chat with her. That sharp old lady can spot a lying female a mile away. One thing, Jimmy, I want you to be extra specially vigilant for any sign that she is still using drugs, despite her denial. The feds are great ones for using junkies as CIS in exchange for keeping their habits stoked. Secondly, let me know if she tries to put the moves on you right off. A detailed report, said McCann with a grin. Piss off,